say that warrants wrestling and tension with.
Yeah, right.
Upon it's definitely interesting, and there's many things you could say. Certainly, Jesus grew in wisdom and stature.
Right.
Right.
But I don't know that I would use that to speak about that. I don't know if I broke it down that it's a fine line, but I don't know that I would say it that way because Jesus wasn't the high priest of God. He was the high priest of humans.
Mhm.
So when it describes Jesus putting on our weakness, it seems to be speaking more about us relating to him and being able to see ourselves. For instance, it talked about the high priest under the Aaronic priesthood, that he could represent the people because he had the same plight as the people,
Sure.
right?
Right.
And so the people could see themselves in him,
Mhm.
right? He was able to represent them.
Okay.
I think it'd be speculate. I mean, you could speculate
Yeah, well,
about whether there was a slightly different feeling, but what I would say is, for me, the compassion God feels in his heart over the suffering of humans is the feeling of the suffering of humans.
Mhm.
It is one and the same. I would say we come from his loins, and because of that, he feels it, right? Like my dad, right? My mother and my father, they know my suffering, right? When I suffer, they feel it simultaneously because I come forth from them. And so I would say that there's some kind of dynamic with God because we come from his loins. We're in his image and likeness. The things we feel them because we come forth from him, right? I would say the suffering we feel at the hands of death or darkness or whatever, we feel that because we are in fact the God kind.
Right.
We wouldn't feel that way if we weren't cut from the rock. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the very fact that we're cut from the rock that would produce this feeling, which means this is how God would feel when confronted with this kind of a situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just say that God felt the same. I mean, Larry felt the suffering I was experiencing when I was laying on that hospital bed dying, right? He didn't need to go and overdose on drugs to taste that suffering.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He was able to identify and to relate. And so I don't know that I would explain it that way because I would say all those things were present before God even came. Right? That feeling, that's why he came. Right?
Yeah.
That's that mercy is a result of him tasting that suffering that we were experiencing. Right? Now he puts on a skin suit and he experiences it in a skin suit. And so if you want to say, is that the first time God felt what it was like to feel death in a mortal body? Yes, I would say yes. But I'm just speaking on the heart. I'm just speaking about the emotion or the feeling strictly in the heart. Right? I wouldn't say that's the first time he felt it. I would say what we saw at the cross is what he felt while we were in sin and death. Mm-hmm. And then the cross is the result of that. But I would also say you could spend a lot of time wrestling with that thought, back and forth, right? Like if we had a Bible college, like I want, and we'd have a class for that kind of a thing, where we'd have like a Mars Hill, where you have like a philosopher's circle, and we'd let people bring questions.
Again, it's
to
not
the board.
This ain't the venue to really delve.
No, but that's something to be wrestled with. That's just my thoughts initially. Jesus is our high priest. He wasn't God's high priest, so he wasn't leading God into the place where he could identify. I feel like he already identified. That's why he came as a human.
Right.
I don't think he could have become a human if he didn't already identify. I think part of the word being made flesh in a human, it by necessity requires a certain identification.
Sure.
Right? That's just how I would say it.
All right.